How we
Hey,
doing? I wasn't sure who was going to say anything. I came in last, so I appreciate everybody joining us tonight on. What are we doing here, guys? I have a sweetheart. I know Philip has a sweetheart. Moen has sweethearts at home with him. So I'm not sure why we're here for Valentine's Day, but it's good to see you guys. How you guys doing?
talking some football sweethearts right here.
Oh, listen
These
to
are
him.
football sweethearts.
And that's true. Moen, you on our little picture there, you said we had football sweethearts. Who are those
We
going into the
do.
show tonight?
Tony Petiti and Greg Sankey. This is going to be a very special, a very sensual, big
Oh
freaking
my,
Friday show
Oh my gosh.
here on the College
that's
Football
gross.
Mafia Network. I am, of course, Moen After Dark, and we're going to get it after dark tonight, guys.
Man, you got that late night DJ voice, Moan.
Very much so, yeah. On 105.7, the Kiss FM, right?
Lots of hearts.
Oh, look at
Valentine's
you.
Day,
That's
y'all.
wonderful.
Moan, beautiful.
So I have to go in an hour. So I don't know if you guys were planning on going longer than that, but we appreciate everybody joining us at least for a little bit. We had a big week, a lot of news that came out this week, and I think we're going to try to touch on as many of those things as we can. We'll also try to get as many of your comments and questions as possible. On the two shows I've had the last 2 weeks during the middle of the week, I haven't had a lot of time for comments because they've been amazing interviews. So we want to spend some time on that tonight if we at all can. I want to thank everybody for being here. Make sure you follow all of us on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Turn on your notifications. That way you know when our shows and our tweets are out there, news that we continue to share with you. And become involved in the College Football Mafia Network. That's what we're here for. And we hope you feel part of it. Ute, what happened for your week this week? What's going on in your life? Can you hear me? No, I don't think you can. Moen, how about you?
It looks like you has been struck by Cupid's arrow and lost his audio there. That's unfortunate, but yeah, for me, it's been the same old kind of week. But I'm here. It's time to get some hype going. Let's hype it up. Let's do this.
I appreciate that. I asked you a question.
Yep.
How did your week go?
Oh, the week was fantastic, and Valentine's Day night. Can't wait to talk about Sankey and Petiti here, and really the 4-4-2-2. Does it make sense, guys? Are we going to land on 4-4-2-2? Are we going to know that in the next week?
God, I can't believe it's coming up so quickly. I mean, it's amazing how time has flown. We sat down and talked to Bob Thompson. What was that? 2 weeks ago now, and he said this was on the horizon, and now to have it here already. I don't know. Do you guys anticipate any big shock value coming out of this Big Ten SEC meeting that happens on the 19th?
I anticipate that they're going to have a lot of discussions that are very on the down low, really about like the so everybody, all the reports and stuff will be about 4-4-2-2 and governance and everything else. But I think that the meeting, there's going to be a secret meeting below the meeting discussing really the future of college football with two power brokers and stuff. So really within the meeting, I could totally see it where there's like loose talks about, hey, what if we were to break away? What if this? Yeah. Contingency plans. I think that's going to happen, but it's not going to be necessarily reported on. It's going to be the things that we know about, the 4-4-2-2, everything else there. But really, I think that these meetings, since Yormark's not going to be a part of it, it's just the Big Ten and the SEC. I mean, there's going to be some stuff talked about that are just between those two conferences that's going to benefit those conferences into the future. And it's going to be really sneaky. It's going to be really quiet and everything. But that's what I think. A little conspiracy theory.
I think you're probably more close than not. What do you think, Moen, about that?
I think we're going to get three things to come out of this meeting. One, we're going to get a Big Ten SEC scheduling agreement. We know that's been negotiated. We know that's in the works. I think that happens first and foremost. Second thing, I think the A4 autonomy that has been discussed, the governance, the self-governance, removing the NCAA, and allowing these four conferences to come together and make their own rules and enforce their own rules. I think the Big Ten and SEC have to spearhead that. Obviously, they can't omit the ACC and Big 12 for that, but they have to spearhead it. They have to be the loudest voices in the room.
Right.
And the third thing I think we're going to get out of this is we're going to find out what the playoff format's going to be in 2026. I don't think they can get autonomy in 2025 to get things changed, but I think they're going to come up with a clear path of what they want for 2026. And remember, in 2026, they have the power to change the format pretty much on their own. They have the largest ownership stake.
So talk about changing the format. What does that mean in like practicality? What could that look like, Moan?
Could be a 15-team playoff. 4 automatic buys for the Big Ten, 4 automatic buys for the SEC.
No, really?
Yes.
No.
Really? Sure.
4 automatic buys for the Big Ten each school?
Yeah. Yep. Or not buys.
Not buys.
Excuse me. Bids.
Yeah.
Bids.
4 automatic
Yeah.
bids.
Yeah.
4 automatic bids for the SEC, 4 automatic bids for the Big Ten. And the ACC and Big 12 maybe get 2 each.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to a 14-team playoff in 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't go out all the way to 16.
Right. Let's just go to 16.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the more games is more money, and if this is all about money and getting the most powerful brands in the playoff as possible, you want more slots for those teams, don't you?
You want more slots for Big Ten and SEC teams. So if you go to 16, you have to give them 5 automatic bids each.
No. Why? What would be driving that? I don't understand why an extra 1 per conference would be required just to go to 2 more teams. You already said 14 you thought was the target.
I agree, but I think if you're going to 16, and again, you're reducing the chances of a Big Ten or an SEC champion. You are. So the reason they want those automatic bids is because they want to have a greater odds of becoming the champion. So that's going to pay them the most money.
Eyeballs. And they want to protect their investments in the Big Ten and the SEC. Man, it just spirals, doesn't it, guys?
Very much.
It's very nice to be in the Big Ten and the SEC because really all the advantages and all the spins and everything, all the narratives. And now, as an outsider looking in, it's frustrating for sure. I think that you could understand that, Moan.
Oh, absolutely. And I think if you're going towards 2029, 2030, when the media deals come back up again, I think that's when you hit 16.
Yeah.
So you're saying from 26 essentially to 30, you would have 14. And then the final bite of the apple will be 30, 31 would be 16, you're saying.
I believe the deal is through 2031 on the college football playoffs. So I think after that deal is over, I think they renegotiate it as a 16.
Okay. Well, it's certainly possible. They don't have to be uniform after this year. 25 is the last year they need any unanimity from the other conferences. So anything is possible. I don't know why you would leave out 2 extra schools. Like how would Ole Miss have liked to have been in the playoff this year, or South Carolina? You do that if you have 2 more slots available.
Right. If you
BYU could have got in. Right?
But if you guys go to 14, I believe Ole Miss and South Carolina both would have got in.
Miami would have got one of those spots.
Okay.
Yeah, Miami, and then it would have been either South Carolina or
right.
I can't remember, South Carolina or Ole Miss.
The SEC would have matched the Big Ten and how many teams they got.
Yeah. Well, if we go to 14, it would have 4-4-2-2. So Big 12 gets second in, right? The second best team in Big 12 get in.
Right.
This last year, so that would have been BYU, Colorado, Iowa State. Iowa State probably because they're in the championship game. I don't know how you.
Yeah, that's where you lose me a little bit. You're talking about how the penalty for playing in the championship game was not to drop out of the top 12. That made no sense to me. Just because you're not in the championship game by a 3-way tie, how does that automatically just playing in that game mean that your team is better? It doesn't, obviously.
You know what, Bomber? Here's what I think. I think. Immaculate's brought this up several times. I think we're going to see a rework of this conference championship for every
Mhm.
conference moving forward. I don't
Oh,
think you're
I
gonna,
agree with that.
I think you're going to
They
have a
have to get more
4.
teams involved.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
going to have a 4-team mini tournament there at the
Yes.
end, and that's going to help you determine who gets in and who gets left out.
Yes.
So it would be like a 1-4-2-3 matchup scenario. That's
Yeah,
probably
something
what it
like
would be
that.
If you're
exactly.
seeding,
for
I
seeding.
would prefer that there are no rematches. I think you take rematches into account first, and then go with seeding.
You know how cool that'd be? I know that's been talked about a lot with the Big 12, but seriously, think about that. And like Nate, BYU gets in as like what 3 or 4 seed, Colorado's
Yeah.
3 or 4 seed, and you play
Yeah.
in, and 2 teams get in out of the 4.
Yes.
That's fantastic stuff right there. That's good
Yeah, it
product.
would have been great. Yeah, it would have been great. I think we just have to be very creative as we look down the road, as we look at these formats, because long and short of it is about money and access. And right now we know the SEC and the Big Ten are driving the bus. The ACC and the Big 12 got to do whatever they can to stay in the bus. They're not driving it, but they can certainly participate. I just don't know where we go with anybody that's not in the Power Four conferences after that.
Oh,
They don't have to
you're
have
major
a
screwed. You
yeah.
are
They don't
major
have
screwed.
to have a G5 access. If you go to 2026, they can completely kick them out. Now, Bob doesn't think that will happen because he says that they don't want antitrust lawsuits to be coming in from all these states, that they all get 2 senators, and it has nothing to do with your population, and each one of those is a very powerful person in the national landscape. So he doesn't think they'll get rid of the Boise state access. We'll just call it that. But it certainly is much reduced. More fighting for less, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. More spots open up, but they're not going to be going to the non A4 power
Right.
conferences,
Right.
right? Like, and so
Right.
you're still getting one slot out there in a 12 or 16 team playoff, but the Cinderella dream's still alive, but it's it's not helping you. You're an
Yeah.
outside looking in. So as
Yeah.
difficult as it is for the Big 12 and the ACC, if you are a Pac-12 member, an AAC member, it's real difficult, right? To kind of get by here, thrive, succeed, get
Yeah.
moved up, right, to the Power Four level. It's just like almost like shut off. It
Yeah.
seems like, and everything. So challenging
I-
stuff. Agreed with you.
Ideally, what I would like to see is 2 for the ACC, 2 for the Big 12, and possibly 2 for the G6.
Yeah.
I think with the AAC, the new Pac-12, I think you can make room for 2 G6s in there.
I mean, you could create room. I don't think they will.
You're right. I think they'll
Yeah,
have one more at-large seed that would
Yeah.
benefit whoever happens to
Exactly.
finish 14.
Yeah.
I think you plug, if you're going to do that, plug Notre Dame and the G6 in together.
And see, that's
make
what
it
I
just
don't understand.
yeah.
That exactly right. Yes. Yeah.
So-
Notre Dame
Yeah.
has to be down 1 year. They can lose their spot to a better
Right.
G6 brand. I would agree with that.
Right, but most years, just based off of the resources that Notre Dame has,
They're
G6
not
is going to
gonna
get
miss
left.
out.
Yeah, the G6 is going to get left out. So I mean, you got to have a path through G6 to get into the playoff.
Yeah, Notre Dame's pretty much going to be guaranteed in the playoff forever now.
I don't
of
understand
the
that, guys.
access.
Why does Notre Dame get this preferential treatment still?
I-
Let's talk. Is it? It's not because of brand and viewership, guys. They are not a top 5 brand anymore. If you want to snuff that out, look at the viewership in the college football playoff.
Mhm.
Ohio State, Notre Dame did not pull the biggest numbers. Texas games pulled bigger numbers. Ohio State,
Right.
Penn State, Notre Dame is not a top 5 brand anymore. They
Yeah.
really aren't.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that it's legacy, it's history, and they didn't win it again this year, so it's another year that comes down the pipe where they underperform. Even getting a championship game wasn't necessarily the greatest run in the world. I mean, they beat some good teams, but Georgia was down. They beat a Clemson team that probably shouldn't have been in there in the first place. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you do with Notre Dame, but until the rules change, and Bob doesn't think again this will ever happen, unless the rules change to force Notre Dame to join a conference, They're always going to have that one step in every year. They'd have to lose 3 games every year to not get in the playoff, essentially.
Well, here's where I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. Notre Dame is still a top 10 brand.
Well, you're top 10, but not top 5.
Well,
He said
top 10 is
top,
still pretty good. Out of 134 teams, that's still pretty damn good. But you asked the question, why is Notre Dame allowed to have this special privilege? It's because people keep allowing it.
Yeah.
With the ACC's new media deal, what did they do? They capitulated. They capitulated to Notre Dame and allowed Stanford and Cal and SMU into their conference.
Yeah.
They capitulated to Notre Dame and have now allowed them to schedule Florida State, Clemson, Miami as part of their ACC scheduling. They basically get to handpick the games they will play for the ACC at this point.
Yeah.
And they get to play Stanford every year. And that's not considered an ACC conference game. So the reason that Notre Dame gets special treatment is because people continue to allow it until somebody is willing to put their foot down. And and the ACC, they can't. I'm not blaming the ACC. They have to do what they have to do. The way they get the most value is having games against Notre Dame. So that's what they did. And until somebody steps in and says that's not going to be the case anymore, they're going to keep getting the special treatment that they receive.
Let's do some shout outs as we get into this. We're almost 20 minutes into the show already. So let's say hey to some Willie Mays out there.
Hey.
The Big Lubbock's first in the house saying first. Good to see you, Big Lubbock. Stormy Cyclone, valuable member of the Mafia family. Good to have you here, Stormy. Kisses, hearts, lol. Okay. I love it. That's awesome. Thank you very much, Stormy. Ryan Willie checking in from the big Midwest. That would be High College Football Mafia, 41 days until opening day, 45 days until Brewers home opener.
Wow.
Is anybody who watches baseball still? Do you guys still watch
Mr.
baseball?
Willie likes his Brewers.
Ryan Willie, he likes some Brewers.
Yeah, I haven't watched baseball in a lot.
I go to one Cincinnati Reds game every year.
Okay. Against who? Is it anybody in particular, or just you go to one game?
I just go to one game.
Oh, okay.
I go to one game and tell people I remember when they were good.
Okay. All right. Skaven yes, checking in. Another member of the Mafia family saying, hello, gentlemen. Go Big Red. Good to have you, Skaven yes. Jackson Johnson, our newly minted moderator in the house, helping us keep these trains on the track. We appreciate you being here, Jackson. Thank you very much. What's up, College Football Mafia Nation? Thanks for all the hard work that you give us, Jackson. We appreciate it. Glenn Hanna checking in, or the University of Oregon Ducks. That Super Bowl reminded me of the Rose Bowl. Maybe Chiefs had it too easy leading up to the game. It's almost like they had help. Yeah, it was an underwhelming Super Bowl for sure.
No comment.
No comment.
It was an underwhelming Super Bowl. I wanted something better. You're fighting for a three-peat, man.
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Moan, stop it. I did not enjoy it at all. It was much like the Rose Bowl with Ohio State and Oregon, right? And the Chiefs did have a tough road. They beat the Buffalo Bills, y'all. Come on.
I think Buffalo's overrated. And then I think Josh Allen's overrated.
Boo Taylor Swift. Really?
Yeah, I don't know that either.
Don't boo Taylor Swift.
She hasn't done anybody wrong. I don't know why people don't like her.
Yeah, those Eagle fans.
Jan Hulk checking in all the way from Slovenia. Good to have you here, Jan Hulk. Hey, y'all. Good to see you. Antoine Johnson checking in, saying, hey, y'all. Thanks for being a valuable member of the Mafia family, Antoine. ASU in the house. Joe Z, Georgia Tech, drink up.
Hold on.
Cheers.
Yeah, there we go.
Happy V-Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. And Moen doesn't have his on ready to go. What's up?
Yeah, Moen is the love master down there. Look at that.
Yeah. Mosito X is here. Good to see you. Hello, everyone. Good to see you here, man. Let's see. Shonsky checking in. Hi, everyone. It's cold here in Utah. I don't like the cold, so. But it's good to see Shonsky in the house. Go Black 45, one of the best names out there at the Wild Ute. Is it true that Cam is retiring and will start collecting Social Security benefits?
Is it true that Cam Rising is retiring and will start collecting Social Security benefits? Come on, go Black. And look, Cam Rising is not with the Utah program anymore. He
Yep.
left the program. I do not know if he's going to continue playing college football. His pro prospects are very limited. He's not going to get drafted. He might be able to make a practice squad. I think the best call for Rising is to go to Sac State, be the quarterback. There's been some smoke about that, or simply retire and be a coach at the Utah Utes. I'd love him to be an analyst on the offense and one day the head coach for the Utah Utes and lead us to glory.
Ooh,
Cam
wow.
Rising,
Listen
head
to
coach, glory.
Glory.
And then he can get
Okay.
his Social Security benefits after he leads us to glory.
Okay.
Welcome to the UFL, Cam Rising.
Yeah,
Hey!
maybe. 7-Up checking in, saying hi, Big 12. Good to see you here, 7-Up. Thanks for showing up. Fergie checking out. FF18 Buffs checking in, being a valuable member of the Mafia family. Happy Valentine's Day, fellas. Go Buffs. Moen getting me moist. Oh, brother.
Oh my
Be
gosh.
safe, Fergie.
I couldn't care less about the team struggling.
Oh, boy.
Moan.
I don't know, Fergie. Illini Ted checking in, another member of the Mafia family, saying big and SEC love is in the air.
Yeah, that's the truth right there, right? That's the namesake. It's like this love affair between the SEC and the Big Ten. They were hated rivals at one point and everything else. They didn't like each other. There's no chemistry, and all of a sudden this chemistry started popping up because of money, because of the money coming in and everything. So love is in the air. It's going to happen next week. What will happen in that room, we do not know, guys.
Wow. Okay, that's deep. Sooner in Texas. Good to see you, Sooner in Texas. 16 team or bust. Of course, the SEC and Big Ten are going to support 4+ teams each. They want it all or else. That's true.
Well,
Sooner in Texas.
Here's the thing, Sooner in Texas, and I know this isn't a popular opinion, but the SEC and the Big Ten bring the most value to the college football playoff. It's part of the reason they got that massive deal they got from ESPN. I think ESPN wants to have a surety that they're going to have big brands from the Big Ten and SEC in the college football playoff for the money they've paid for it.
I don't know how they can complain. This last playoff turned out wonderfully. People
I know,
watched
I'm
those
saying-
games left and right.
I think if they stayed at 12 for the next 7 years, I don't think they'd have an issue. They wouldn't need automatic qualifiers. I think if they go to 14, that's when they want to get automatic qualifiers.
Okay. Now I understand what you're saying. I lost track there for a second. Tony Lawson saying pimps in New Orleans are just are jealous of Mona Vision's wardrobe. Pimps
Here we go.
in Vegas.
Whoa, Nelly!
See, that's the Whoa Nelly I've been looking
I
for.
found one.
Finally,
one.
that one
Whoa,
carries
Nelly.
the day. I love it. That one's very, very good.
Good sounder.
Devil Frog checking in, saying the original of the original OG Mafia family, saying, question is, do the SEC and Big Ten have the balls to tell Notre Dame they have to join a conference in football? I don't think so.
Well, whether
See-
they have the balls or not is irrelevant. The ACC continues to coddle them.
Hey, Notre Dame's the one that got away. It's Valentine's Day, guys. Notre Dame, the Big Ten wanted Notre Dame so bad, this love affair and stuff. Their heart, just Twitter, beats, everything for Notre Dame. It's all about Notre Dame. The talk about Notre Dame in Big Ten circles blows my mind as an outsider and everything. There's this love affair, like this lust. It's not even love, guys. It's lust for Notre Dame. Notre Dame just has an arm's length away from the Big Ten. Will it ever come to fruition? I don't know, Moan. I don't know if that relationship's ever going to happen. The SEC clearly wants a relationship with the Big Ten, but the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, the lust pot, who knows if it happens.
The lust pot. Okay. Nathan Campbell says, hi, guys. Good to see you, Nathan. We have a super chat here from Ryan Willie checking in. Thank you, Ryan, especially for being a member of the College Football Mafia family. I love the look on Swift's face after getting booed, and Travis should retire.
All right, Ryan, you didn't like the milk sound effect last week, so get this. I found badgers.
Oh. That's a badger?
What is
This is the sound of a North American badger.
I don't know. I've never
You
heard
are
that before.
lying, Mo. Is that
No,
really?
absolutely
Do it
is.
again.
That's what a badger sounds like. Listen.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
That's amazing right there.
Thank
I've
you for the
never
super chat, Ryan.
Thank you,
I've
Ryan.
never heard that. And that's a great picture of a badger. I really
I love it.
appreciate
I
that.
love it.
What? Sorry.
And-
Yeah.
Put
Okay.
put the picture
Sorry.
back up, Moan, of
Sorry.
the badger.
Put the badger picture back up. There you go.
Okay.
Every time I see Ryan Willie's name, I want to think of this badger's face.
This is
now.
the evil badger. See, he's giving you that evil wink.
All right. I've got like 3 minutes. I guess I got to go
Okay.
earlier than I thought.
Nope,
So
no
let me get
problem.
two more comments and then I got to get out of here because there's people more important than you two guys out there for
Oh,
me.
Oh
thank you.
yeah.
Noel Ramirez, ZPR, checking in, saying, I don't know about that. Notre Dame is still a top brand. I think what Ute's point was, it wasn't in the top 5 this last year. Certainly, what was their total attendance? Not attendance, but viewers for their shows. Do you have that stat, Ute?
It was less than 4 million Nielsen rated views
Right.
per game for
Which
Notre
would have
Dame.
been about middle of the SEC, right?
I mean, there was a few SEC teams that were in front of it, a few Big Ten. It was like hovering around top 10 upon
Okay.
recollection of
Okay.
that. And every single game is in primetime, guys. Like,
Right.
it's right there on NBC. There's no excuse for it. They've got more opportunity than anybody. But my point is that Notre Dame's brand's been on the slight decline for a long time and still hasn't rebounded. It's not what it was back in 1990.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I agree. All right, everybody, I got to get. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming out tonight on a very abbreviated but awesome show for Valentine's Day. Definitely take care of your family, give your loved ones hugs and kisses, travel safe, and please don't drink and drive. And I will see everybody next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, with another big interview. I'm still working on securing that person. So I appreciate it, guys. Ute, Moen, you guys have a great night. We'll
care.
talk to you soon.
See you, Nate.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, we got another super chat here from our friend Go Black 45. If the SEC and Big Ten agree on scheduling and cancels games against Notre Dame in the future, what does Notre Dame do then?
Notre Dame's a Valentine's date that doesn't get rejected too often, Moen. It's that girl out there that doesn't get rejected, and so the girl has a inflated ego, right? Notre Dame.
Yeah,
and she's gotten everything that she wants for many years and everything, but she's got an inflated ego. She certainly hasn't been rejected. So rejection is something that won't go well at first. There will be tantrums, there will be fights, there will be screaming, there'll be clawing. But really, at the end of the day, after all those tantrums are over, she'll capitulate here, and that's exactly what Notre Dame will do. So if you tell Notre Dame, hey, you're not getting in the playoff, we're not going to give you a free spot, we're not going to play you anymore and stuff, there will be kicking, there'll be screaming, there'll be clawing and everything else. But at the end of the day, Notre Dame will come home to the Big Ten.
Yeah, I appreciate the super chat, Go Black. I don't have any tiger sounds on here, unfortunately, sir. I got a cougar. I can play a cougar for you. I know that's probably not what you were looking for. But we can pretend that it's a tiger. I listen, the only one I think really Notre Dame has scheduled is USC. And that ends, unless they extend it, that ends with this year's game. I know I think they've got a game against Purdue coming up. But I don't think the Big Ten and SEC have a whole lot of games against Notre Dame in the future. I would have to look into that. And if that happened, the ACC would just continue to, the ACC or the Big 12 would fill in. Somebody would take those games, Notre Dame. Notre Dame is not going to have trouble filling that in. At least I don't think.
That's why they want to play Clemson and Florida State. That's why they're saying the ACC, hey, if we stick around the ACC, we're not going to play who they deem to be lesser brands. They want to play the big boys to get the ratings. They're very self-serving, aren't they? Yeah,
absolutely. They play Arkansas, Alabama, and Texas. Okay. So that's some of the future SEC schedules for Notre Dame. As far as I know, Big Ten, USC, and Purdue are the only two that I know for certain. You're going to have to pay to get out of those games, but if you do a scheduling agreement, very good possibility that you can maybe get just as equal games. I mean, Ohio State already has Alabama, Georgia, and Texas scheduled for the next 8 years, I believe, 8 or 9 years. So, but if you can fit another great quality team in there, say put an Alabama Michigan matchup, I'm sure everybody would love to see that one again.
Can we talk for a second about the top brands? Like, we don't need to do any data analysis right now. Like, I can maybe break that down at a different day. Let's just go off like our intuition. Okay. In our community out there, throw in like the comments to who are the top 5 brands in college football right now? Top 5. Moan, I would love to get your perspective on this too, while our community members throw down what they think right here. But I want to hear the top 5 and then we'll get to the top 10. Notre Dame probably ends up in the top 10, but I would have a hard time seeing them in the top 5. Who are your top 5, Moan?
Ohio State, the University of Texas, Alabama, Michigan. Oh man, number 5 is tough.
It's tricky, isn't it?
I might put Notre Dame at 5.
Really?
Yeah, it's it's going to be split for me. It's going to be either Notre Dame or USC, and I know USC has struggled recently, but they've still got a boatload of national championships and Heisman Trophy winners.
See, Fergie says Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Michigan. It's a pretty good list here. Go Black. 45 says Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Bama, Michigan. Same list, just different order. Here we go. Jack says Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama. We're getting a theme here, right? So Josie says Ohio State, Bama, Texas, Michigan, and USC. One common thread here. There's no Notre Dame. There's no Notre Dame. Where's Notre Dame? Like, why is Notre Dame treating college football like they're the biggest product in college football when they're not a top 5 product in college football? That's the big point here. Why is Notre Dame doing that? In my view, it is Ohio State, number 1. Number 2 is Michigan. Number 3 is Bama. Number 4 is Texas. Then that number 5 probably really is Georgia at this point in time. You can make an argument for Penn State. I think Penn State right now's brand is bigger than USC's. But USC is going to be there as well. But Notre Dame at one point was the number 1 brand in college football back in the Rudy days, back in the 80s and the 90s. But that's just fell. Like, and if you go down the list too, you can make an argument that they're 7, 8, 9, 10, right? They're not a top 5.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be debated. Again, Midwestern bias from my point of view, I would probably put Notre Dame in. I know a lot of people, the SEC people in the chat I see are including Georgia. Georgia, to me, it's just, okay, are we talking about just top brand as of today? Or are we talking, are we putting any history in that? Or are we just talking about top brands today?
I think history gets baked into brand, right?
Okay.
Like all your history factors into your brand today. And like it's always relevant today. Like the brands today might not be relevant in 10 years. Like say that a school like Penn State, goes on a historical losing streak and stuff. They'll still be a brand, but not a top 5, 6, 7 brand, right? Like it's all relative to today's perspective, and that's taking in history and recent success. Even Ohio State, Ohio State is such a big fan base, they'll probably always be a top 5 brand because the fan base size is massive, right?
Sure. No, but I mean, listen, Notre Dame, again, they kind of had an easier time to get in there than most, but they did get to the national championship game this year. So, I mean, that if we're talking about relevancy, they're still a relevant team. They got the brakes beat off of them in that game, but, they're still, unfortunately, they're still a relevant team until we figure out a way to stop them from being a relevant team.
They're an ultra relevant team. Any top 10 team is going to be a relevant team. But like it's Notre Dame being an independent, like is kind of shocking when you think of a brand like Ohio State being in a conference. Like Ohio State should be independent and not Notre Dame. Like Ohio State has a bigger fan base, gets way more eyeballs than Notre Dame, would perform better on NBC than Notre Dame. Like, and so it's shocking to see Notre Dame get the treatment that nobody else gets when they're not even the top dog. That's what I'm saying. Does that make sense? Like Ohio State should get Ohio State basically does get Big Fox treatment, right, for every game to build the brand and everything else.
Right. But I mean, you got to remember too, Notre Dame's a national brand. If you're Catholic, you grew up rooting for Notre Dame. Huge fan bases in Boston, New York, Chicago. You know, even parts of Ohio are big Notre Dame fans. So it's a tough question. I mean, you know, I think if it comes down to personal opinion, I put Notre Dame in the top 5, maybe edging out USC, but it's basically a coin flip for me between Notre Dame and USC.
What about Penn State and Georgia, though? Like Penn State, Notre Dame.
See, Penn State and Georgia kind of, you know, Penn State really has not had, they did well this year. They got far in the playoffs. In all honesty, if they could just figure out how to throw to a damn wide receiver, they might have been in the championship game. But you know, Penn State's a great brand. Georgia's a great brand. But for me, they really just don't have the historical. I mean, for Georgia, yes, they're successful now. Prior to that, I think their last national championship was 1980. Penn State, their last national championship was
Joe Paterno days.
It was Joe Paterno, and they.
94.
No, I don't even think it was that.
When was
They had
Penn
a claim.
State's last championship?
They have a claim to one in 1993, but I think the outright one they won was 86. I believe they beat the University of Miami for one.
And you got to be kidding me! In '86,
Yes.
Let's see. So they claimed championships in 1982 and 1986, and then did they split?
93 is a weird season.
94.
Yeah, 94. It might have been 94. So there are people who make the argument that Penn State should have been a national championship, considered a national championship team in 1993-94.
So Penn State has 2 claimed national championships, like you're saying, Moan, in 1982 and 1986. And they've got 5 unclaimed national championships. That's the most I've seen. 1911, 1912, 1969, 1981, and 1994. So Penn State claims they've got 7 championships, but they're only recognized for 2. You know who else has an unclaimed championship, Moan?
Utah.
Yeah, Utah. We do have an unclaimed championship. I'm never gonna let that one go either. In 2008, right there. So I'll take that any day.
Yeah, it's again, I think it's a personal preference thing. For me, Georgia, too much recency. Penn State, not, you know, boy, they've just had such a rough go of it with James Franklin, where they're good, but they can never seem to get over the hump. Outside of that Rose Bowl against Utah, as you know. But you know, as much as we complain about Ryan Day and his record against Michigan, James Franklin's record against Ohio State is much, much worse. And Ryan Day now has a national championship to fall back on. James Franklin doesn't have that yet. They've been hiring like crazy. They hired Jim Knowles from Ohio State to run their defense. They just hired Drayton, the former Temple head coach, to become their running backs coach. I think it's all in next year for Penn State. And if they can't get it done, I think they got to move on from James Franklin. Congratulations to him making a deep playoff run.
On from James. I mean, he won a playoff game this year.
I understand that, but I mean, he also lost to Notre Dame in a game they were pretty well, you know, doing well in, but they just couldn't find a receiver. And he's been through more offensive coordinators than I think any head coach I can remember. So I get it.
Okay. So from the Salt Lake City, Utah perspective, Penn State is a bigger brand than Notre Dame.
Okay.
Penn State, in all reality, too, Penn State has the biggest living alumni base, I believe, in the nation. Maybe Ohio State, but Penn State certainly in the top 3. I believe Penn State might have the number 1 living alumni. It's just absolutely massive what Penn State is. And really Penn State, as far as significance, as far as like big time games over the past 20 years, they've been a lot more than Notre Dame. So
Yeah,
I make
again,
the argument that Notre Dame is a lesser brand than Penn State. Penn State's viewership's better than Notre Dame. Penn State.
I'm not saying you can't make an argument for Penn State. I'm not saying you can't make an argument for Georgia. I'm saying it comes down to personal preference. If you're going to say, what are your top 5 brands? You know, what you think is a Utah, you're probably going to lean more towards West Coast football. You're probably going to remember USC when USC was successful, and you know the 12 Heisman Trophy winners that came out of there. The early 2000s with Pete Carroll. So, I think it's personal preference.
That's an interesting thing. Let's talk about now, Moan. I would like to
let me get to the super chat real quick.
Right.
Fergie gave us a super chat. The Big 12 needs to drop all the deadweight non-con games and schedule one Big, one SEC, and one ACC. If there are 2 auto bids, go for the ratings.
That's freaking brilliant, honestly, Fergie. One Big Ten, one SEC, and one ACC opponent each year would be gold. It'd be fantastic for the Big 12 to do that. They wouldn't get penalized that much by playing these Big Ten brands without playing some FCS school. I think it'd be fantastic. The question is, of course, the ACC would probably be down for that, but would the Big Ten and the SEC be willing to do it? They're already complaining that they played too many tough games. The SEC won't even go to a 9th conference game because their difficult schedule. They dare play a Utah. They dare play a Colorado or a BYU. I don't know. Like, there's plenty of games that are going to, like, look, check it out. Like, LSU, Utah is happening home and home in the future. I fully expect that to get canceled by LSU, and Utah paid out for that game, or both of them, because they don't need to play Utah. They feel like they have 8 games in this SEC schedule. That's fine. Like, they don't need any more difficult competition. They can play FCS opponent. They can play Holy Cross or whoever and claim they have this elite strength of schedule. So I love this idea. It'd be a fantastic idea in practicality. Can they execute it? Big 12 would want it. The ACC would want it. The Big 10 might even consider it, but the SEC just will shy away from it. They don't have the guts to do it.
All right. I'm sorry, Fergie. I don't have any Buffalo sounds, but this is one that you really likes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's quite pleasant, actually. It's like a gentle tug. Okay, slightly less gentle now. My udders are on fire!
Thank you for the super chat, Fergie. That's a clip of a cow getting milked and his udders are on fire.
You've got to be kidding me.
Go Black 45, another one. Next 5, PSU, Notre Dame, Oregon, USC, LSU, or Clemson. And then I saw a chat. I'm trying not to lose everywhere we're at here, but I saw a good one from a young man named Nelson. Growing up, Ohio State versus Michigan, USC versus UCLA, Nebraska and Oklahoma. Those are 2 we didn't bring up. Some others to consider: Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Ohio State, USC, Oklahoma, Alabama, Notre Dame. That's their top 5. So, you can make an argument. I can't argue if somebody says Oklahoma's in my top 5. I can't argue if someone says Nebraska's in my top 5.
Look, I love Nebraska and their fans, but like we have to be realistic about things. Nebraska is not a top 5 brand anymore in college football. Maybe at one point in time, many, many years ago, Nebraska was, when they were winning national championships. But the fact that Nebraska was like on a 7-year bowl, no win streak and everything, has definitely tarnished the brand nationally. Like, the fan base is still ultra strong and everything, but we can't sit here and say Nebraska is a top 5 brand anymore. That's just not realistic. Like, they're top 15, top 20 for sure, but like, they're not a top 5. Oklahoma's a different story. I think that Oklahoma's brand's probably deteriorated since going into the SEC. Oklahoma's a school that that probably won't see the fruits of the SEC jump. like Texas will. Texas has been successful thus far. Texas is going to be successful in the SEC all the time. Oklahoma is a different story, different recruiting base, and everything else. Oklahoma is going to struggle a lot more in the SEC than Texas has. So we'll see what Oklahoma does in the future. Are they top 5 brand? I wouldn't say so, but I would say that brand is slipping every day.
Okay. All right. I would just add in here, though, if we're going to say that they haven't done anything recently, you got to remember, up until this year, Notre Dame had not won a major bowl game since 1995. They had not won a national championship since 1988. They still haven't won that national championship. You're welcome. But I mean, they haven't. They've played in a couple national championship games. Obviously, they're doing better than Nebraska did over that time period. But still, there's some down times for Nebraska as well. So, real quick,
You got to give Nebraska fans. Sorry, before we jump on,
Yeah.
Nebraska fans deserve major kudos. Nebraska fans are so quality of fan base. They're
absolutely
great people. Amazing people to tailgate with, spend time with, they're knowledgeable about football and stuff. Elite 10 out of 10 people in that fan base, a huge fan base and everything. Just with the lack of success that the program's had over the last 10, 15 years. That's what, nationally, I don't think the perception is their top 5, top 10 brand anymore. They're fantastic. They're some of my favorite fans actually out there in Nebraska.
Yeah. Nebraska fans show up for all kinds of their athletic programs, too. Remember, they packed their football stadium for a volleyball game. So, I mean, and if you want to tailgate with some good people, Nebraska people, but it is Valentine's Day and we want to show some love here at the College Football Mafia Network. We're going to give out 5 memberships right there. Woo, woo. Ag Biochemist, Rich 12, Creighton Rabs, Jelly Jungle, not SC no though. We're all gifted.
Not SC no though?
Not C note though. I think that's what it's supposed to be though. I don't know. I don't know, man. I can't keep up with these young kids. You guys are all members of the College Football Mafia family now. You get access to members only videos, the special emotes in chat, and a bunch of other cool stuff. So welcome aboard. Let's take a look at some of these comments that Nate starred and I starred. Jose says, Greg the Hammer Valentine's Day. There you go. Greg the Hammer. Reason I don't get ice out of ice machines at hotels. Mosito says, hello, everyone. Good to see you, Mosito. Shonsky, why does the SEC big need 4 guaranteed? Are they worried about not being good enough some years to get that many? Boob tits are what they are. Get out and do your thing, whiners. Boob tits.
Got to give him some milk for that, Moan.
Yeah, let me
give him some milk for that. Look, that's a good question too. He brings hey, why do you need that? If you're so strong anyway, why do you need 4 automatic qualifiers?
I don't know, never know,
You don't need. You cut that off. Here we go.
Shit, I don't even know. I can't even tell you that. Fighting. I don't know. Never know.
You don't even know. Listen, again, I think this comes down to the value of the college football playoff. ESPN is going to pay more money to everybody, knowing that they're guaranteed to have a certain number of Big Ten and SEC teams in there that are more than likely going to be the top brands from those conferences.
Are you saying that really it's the networks pushing for this and not the conferences?
Well, I'm saying the conferences aren't disagreeing. The conferences are not protesting it. The conferences are, saying, "Oh, okay, we'll go for that." But it's, I don't know. It brings too much. They bring too much value to the college football playoff contract, and that's a contract for everybody. I understand as a Big 12 fan, as an ACC fan, you may not like that the Big 10 or SEC gets 4 automatic qualifiers in, but what it does is it gets you paid more money. Your teams make more money as a result of that.
I mean,
That's
you still
my
have to win
personal
games
opinion.
to make money.
You still
Like,
have to win games. Sure. But I mean, if you're getting a college football playoff payout, everybody gets a cut of the college football playoff. Everybody's cut
like
is
the
going to
Big
be
Ten and
more.
the SEC are getting a lion's share of the cut, right?
They're getting
Like,
more, but I mean, everybody gets every team that's eligible for the college football playoff gets some college football playoff money. So if you're a team like Temple is never making the college football playoff. God love you, Temple. You're not making it. Okay. But you get college football playoff money. I'm sure they like that. For the ACC, God love Wake Forest. Wake Forest is not making the college football playoff. Though I'm thinking about Indiana, I probably shouldn't say that. Wake Forest will somehow get in next year at 10-1. But there's going to be teams that are just never going to make that college football playoff. For them, they have to look at it as, I want to get the most money I can out of my college football playoff payment.
Talking about payments for the college football playoff brings up difficult emotions, Moan. To think of a school like Northwestern getting paid $10 million more in the college football playoff than Utah is very difficult to digest, right? I can accept that Ohio State makes a lot more than Utah based on performance on the field, based on brand value and stuff. But when you're Northwesterns, when you're sluggards of the Big Ten are getting paid $10 million more in CFB payouts per year, it's difficult to digest. Northwestern has the best gig in the land. Being the worst team in the Big 12 has got to be the greatest job in the freaking world, right?
Well, I think using Utah as an example was a bad example. Up until very recently, Utah wasn't even in the Power 4. They were a Mountain West school.
Moan. Come on.
Okay, when did they join the pack?
They joined the pack back in, 2000 or something?
I think it was
2012.
2012.
It's 2012.
Okay, so it's been 13 years. So, I mean, Utah has climbed from G5 status into a power conference and won that power conference. I'm not trying to take anything away from Utah, but then you're comparing them to Northwestern, who has basically been in the Big 10 for 120 plus years now. I mean, going back to when it was the Western Conference. So, but I'll give you a little Utah love. We'll throw it up here.
Wow.
A little Utah Utes love. I would just use a different school as an example. I'd say maybe like Oklahoma State or
Oklahoma State.
Somebody who was in the
State.
Southwestern
Utah
Conference.
is a two-time champion of the Pac-12. They have more Pac-12 championships than Arizona State and U of A and several other schools in their history. You got to give them credit, Moan.
I'm giving them credit for that, but I'm just saying that they have not been in an autonomous four conferences.
Like a million years ago and stuff. Northwestern's been in the fraternity for a long time. I mean, it's time for them to get out of the fraternity. What are they bringing to the table anymore?
I'm just saying.
Where's the merit in this, Moan?
Well, it's not a meritocracy. It's not a meritocracy. It's never been a meritocracy. You know that. It's not who you know. It's not what you know. It's who you know. It's always been that way. That's the way, And yeah, that sucks. It sucks. But, people who are born rich are probably going to stay rich. It is what it is.
Western's like that rich kid.
Yeah.
I know they do produce.
I'm telling you what, if you got a degree from Northwestern, you're a rich kid. Why did Utah only sell 14.8 million in ticket sales versus 31 million at Colorado and 41 million at Oklahoma? Are your tickets too cheap or no luxury box money?
Well, check it out. So I just got my ticket invoice a couple days ago. I'm a season ticket holder. I have 2 tickets, North End Zone. And my tickets were for 6 home games. I pay $100 each per seat, right? So it's not necessarily like super, super expensive. I wouldn't say that my tickets are great. They're behind the field goal post and everything. And like, I love my tickets because I can act like an ape and I can wear my Darth Vader outfit and stuff, right? Without having to be in a box or something. So that's fine. But like, really, I pay, $600 per seat, right? So I don't know how much Colorado's. Obviously, you're charging more and stuff. What I would position back though, Fergie, is like, what was Colorado charging before Dion got there? Like a nickel? Like, I mean, like you got to be like honest about that. Like Dion changed everything at Colorado, made it cool again to go to Buffs games. Like for years and stuff, even in the Mel Tucker era, it was tough to sell Colorado tickets. And so I think that you should maybe look at like a longer term perspective and everything. Look, Oklahoma sells tickets. Oklahoma's a big brand. Utah's not the same brand as Oklahoma. I'm not going to argue that at all. Oklahoma is an elite brand and everything. Top 5, I wouldn't say so, but top 15 certainly. So they're going to sell a lot of money in tickets.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing you got to remember too, Fergie. You has you on that. There's a before prime and there's an after prime. And before prime, Colorado was not selling huge amounts of tickets. They weren't. But that's why they brought Prime in there.
Absolutely.
Prime brings money.
Are. Yeah.
He told him pay him his money.
Tell him to bring me my money.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat, Fergie. Our friend Ryan Willie chimed in. He's got the Big Ten opponents. Notre Dame's Big Ten opponents are Purdue and USC in 25. Wisconsin at Lambeau. Yeah, see, when you put UW now because of Washington, I have to figure out which UW we're talking about. At Lambeau, Michigan State, Purdue, and USC in 26. 26. Are you sure about the US? You're probably right. I know USC does not have an extension with them very far on that rivalry game. So
Notre Dame in Washington and Wisconsin? And
no,
like
no.
Wisconsin at Lambeau.
Yes.
Like Notre Dame, Washington in
No. Okay, there's two UWs. There's two
UW is like
UWs.
Wisconsin. We're not like Washington, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. He's saying for the University of Wisconsin, instead of playing in their home stadium, they would play at Lambeau Field where the Packers play. And they're playing Notre Dame there. And I'm sure Wisconsin will have a lot of fans there, but I mean, listen, there's going to be some Notre Dame people there in the stands too. Michigan State has traditionally played Notre Dame. Again, another reason they should be in the Big Ten. Purdue is a rival of Notre Dame. Again, another reason they should be in the Big Ten. And of course, the biggest rival of Notre Dame, USC, just another reason they should be in the Big Ten. Thank you so much, Ryan, for your super chat. We already did the Badger sounds. Let's do a winner for you.
Winner.
Tell you what, that Wisconsin Notre Dame game at Lambeau is a must ticket get. Go get it. Go to that game, Ryan Willie. That's going to be a special game.
That should be fun. I kind of like the idea of playing in historical NFL stadiums like that. Except Soldier Field. Never play in Soldier Field. Let me see. I'm just trying to jump around here, guys. Guys, we got so many chats coming in. We've got over 500 chats, I think, so far tonight. So if you absolutely positively want it to be read, it's going to have to be a super chat. I apologize. We generally try to get to as many comments as we can, and we always try and defer to members. Check it out. What ACC turns out fake extra $20 million and UNC leaving? LOL. Again, until they leave. You know, the funny thing, though, I noticed on Twitter that they're doing an ACC Unity tour.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. The ACC network is doing a ACC Unity tour. Meanwhile, Clemson and Florida State are still in court with them. It's kind of hard to be in Unity when you're also at each other's throats in a lawsuit.
A Unity tour? What does that even mean?
It's, I assume trying to convince people there's unity. It's kind of like, college kids going on a chastity tour. Tennessee was embarrassing versus Ohio State. At least Indiana only lost by 10, though. Yeah, but they got dominated pretty much. They got some garbage time points.
I'm pulling this Unity tour up. We have to investigate this thing. Okay? So this is from the ACC's website. I'm going to scroll up, folks, here. So all access the ACC Life. ACC Unity Tour 2024 in Charleston, South Carolina, presented by Auto Owners Insurance, debuts on February 17. Wow. Okay. So this is legitimate. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
A 30-minute documentary will offer a behind-the-scene look of the July 2024 trip that the ACC student athletes took to historical Charleston. Okay. Crazy stuff right there. Look, yeah, they're obviously trying to unite. Is that safe to say, Moan?
Yeah, it's a terrible name. I mean, Unity Tour when you've got two teams suing you. I don't know, but David Floyd says Big 12 and ACC need to make sure the G5 doesn't get in. See, I think Notre Dame's a bigger threat to them, but the ACC has basically allowed Notre Dame a lifeline. So they've basically shot themselves in the foot and then shot the Big 12 in the foot while they were at it.
Notre Dame's a problem for the Big 12, like you're saying, Moan. Like they've always been a problem. They prevented the second Big 12 team from getting in this year. If Notre Dame doesn't get in the playoff, then likely another Big 12 team gets in, or even Miami, right? Probably not 3 ACC teams, so maybe a Big 12 team would get consideration. Every single year, the Golden Domers are going to be a thorn in the side of the Big 12.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt there. Stormy Cyclone says the Big Ten wants Notre Dame to be their Valentine. Unfortunately, Notre Dame is having an affair with the field. Yeah. Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? Just ask Jim Phillips.
Like, is there another sucking you, and you're sick of it? I get it. You know what? Like, okay, like Mon, I like having our shows and stuff because like it's finally an opportunity to talk, like real talk about the Big Ten, right? Like the Big Ten, it flexes. The Big Ten's great, dominant stuff, but like it is very amusing to see the Big Ten try to have like this love relationship with Notre Dame as an outsider watching this happen and stuff because you guys get so many dang wins. You win in everything, right? Like and like it's so hard to even like get to the level of Big Ten in anything, but like watching this like relationship, like not just Ohio State fans, but all Big Ten fans want Notre Dame so bad. It's like that thing that you want, you just can't have it and everything. So it's almost kind of amusing.
Yeah, you know, it's like you go into a bar and there's 10 supermodels standing at the bar. 9 of them say yes, and the 10th one says no. And all you can fixate on is the 10th one.
You have to have her.
Why
right?
did she say no? 9 said yes. Do they know who I am? I smell of rich mahogany. So I agree with you. It is what it is. It's a white whale. Moen, you better be careful with all the Big Ten teams not playing Notre Dame anymore. I'm sure they are a part of your revenue earning. Cut them your next media deal might decline. Hence why the Big Ten and SEC are working out a scheduling agreement to increase the media value for both conferences. They are. I mean, yeah, you said it's going to suck to lose USC Notre Dame, but if we get USC versus LSU, USC versus Alabama, I mean, there's several intriguing matchups in the scheduling agreement.
Let's go more in depth in the scheduling agreement because it's a looming threat to like, you know, any outside conference that's not part of the Big Ten and the SEC. Like based on your understanding of the possible scenarios, are we talking about how many games for each school in those conferences would be involved? And would there be multiple out-of-conference games per year, essentially eliminating everybody else out from playing them in the out-of-conference? Like, give more detail on like your perspective of what could happen here with the scheduling agreement.
It would be a 16-game schedule every year. 8 games would be hosted by an SEC team. 8 games would be hosted by a Big Ten team. That way the media partners will each get 8 games to broadcast. There would probably be exceptions, obviously, because the Big Ten has 18 teams and, you know, obviously the SEC only has 16 right now. So there's probably going to be 2 teams left out. But I think you're probably going to see the way it is done is not going to be just, you're not going to get Northwestern Alabama. You're not. It's going to be Alabama, Michigan. It's going to be Alabama, Ohio State. It's going to be Alabama, Penn State. It's going to be Alabama, USC. It's going to be the biggest brands against the biggest brands. And then you're going to get your middle brands. You're going to get Illinois versus a Mizzou, which is somewhat of a rivalry. They have existing history, Illinois and Missouri. And you can also bring back, I've talked about this. I think the Big 12 needs to get in on this.
Yes.
I think the Big 12 needs to get in on this and do their own scheduling agreement with both the Big 10 and the SEC and bring back some rivalries. I think Colorado and Nebraska should play each other every year. I think Kansas and Missouri should play each other every year.
Mm-hmm. Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. There's some more. I can't think off the top of my head right now what. Well, Iowa State, Iowa, they already play every year, but that's a Big 12, Big 10 matchup.
Ohio State needs to be playing Utah every year.
I know you think that. But yeah, I think there's options here to where we can have separate conferences and we can all work together and have some really great games. Except the ACC. The ACC chose Notre Dame, and they can sit out there and play with Notre Dame.
I think it's a fantastic idea. Why isn't the Big 12 invited to the love affair then? That's going on next week.
Come on, it gets a little messy when there's three people in a love affair. Come on. And I don't think you would like the position the Big 12 would probably be in that love affair. So.
Oh my gosh.
Caleb Ramirez says, I think they could do 2 games a year, 1 home, 1 away. Again, I think it would be much better. Get that Big 12 thing going. I think let's bring back Colorado, Nebraska. Let's bring back Oklahoma State. Let's bring back Mizzou, Kansas. There's so many great rivalries that we could bring back with scheduling agreements. And I don't know why. I don't know why, but I think, listen, you want to increase your media value. That's going to Colorado versus Nebraska. You're going to tell me that doesn't move the needle and draw eyeballs?
Oh my gosh.
Mizzou, Kansas, the Civil War. I mean, that's got to draw eyeballs. Oklahoma State, Bedlam draws eyeballs. I mean, I get it that. Well, I won't say that Oklahoma's going to beat Oklahoma State for a while, but yeah, I mean, it's just there's so many options here that we can do for out of conference where we don't have to play a bunch of G5 cupcakes. You know what I mean? I totally get Ohio State. They always want to play a smaller school from Ohio because it benefits that school's athletic programs and their athletic department. But if we're going to play one game against the SEC, we'll do that. And I wouldn't have a problem scheduling a Big 12 team.
Add the Big 12 in. Add them in. Right. Bring them in. Whatever that position looks like, bring them in, Moan. I think that's a fair assessment right here, right? And having Big 12 be a part of the SEC and Big 10 annual games would be healthy for the Big 12 conference, and it would be good for the sport too, and it would be a lot more advantageous than the Big 12 scheduling games versus ACC. Look like ACC, we want survival and everything, right? But scheduling games versus Big 10 and the SEC is more advantageous, more eyeballs, more exposure. The relationships that you want to establish for the future of college football, it's a no-brainer from Yormark's perspective, from the Big 12 perspective. So make it work, even if it's not a 16-game annual schedule. Because it sounds like a lot like what you're saying. It's kind of like those basketball matchups where there's like a weekend versus like the Big 10 and the ACC showdown, right? It's basically the same like you're saying. There's 16 games. So every year an SEC team's playing a Big 10 team. That's what you're saying. Every single year.
Yeah, I mean, it's Big 12 needs to schedule the rivalry games better. Yes, Sergeant Pickles is going to release a video on this. He has fixed the schedule for them since they were not able to do it themselves. But I will go ahead and let you cook on that one. If I can find it, there we go.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Thank you for another super chat, Go Black 45. It is much appreciated, my Bayou Bengal friend. And then we've got another super chat from our friend Caleb Ramirez.
Hey.
$2 super chat. Doesn't say anything, and I don't have a Buckeye sound here, but we'll just do this.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was. Huh?
What is that? Is that Brutus?
There's a little Brutus
How in the
Buckeye
world did
dance
you-
there for you.
What? What, Moan? How are you getting these things?
Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Caleb. It is much
Wait, show
appreciated,
Brutus
sir.
again. You got Brutus dancing on our screen here. This is blowing my mind.
Here we go. I got something here for the West Virginia fans first. Here we go.
Moan, you're the best in the business.
Best I am at what I do. What I do, I do not know.
Check this out. This is the national championship dance here from Brutus the Buckeye.
Yeah. Most people don't know this. Brutus is usually played by a woman.
No way.
Yes way.
Does Brutus do like the splits and stuff? Like,
Sometimes he does all kinds of acrobatics, but yeah, it's usually a woman that's in there.
are you sure?
Oh, I'm sure. I won't go into that story, but yes, I'm sure. I'm sure. All right, let me get some more comments, guys. It's about 12. Let's run about 5 more. You got 5 more minutes, you?
5 more minutes. Let's do it.
We have 5 more minutes, and then we got to bounce for our Valentine's Day plans. I want to thank everybody for joining us here on the College Football Mafia Network on our Big Freaking Friday show. Got a lot of great comments here. I love to see all the comments, see all new faces coming in here. If you're watching us on Twitter /X/ whatever you want to call it, won't you consider coming over and becoming a subscriber, possibly a member of the College Football Mafia? Look us up on YouTube. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. And if you are watching us on YouTube, would you consider giving us a like? That helps us so much in the algorithm, and we really appreciate that. And it, again, doesn't cost you anything. As always, if you want to leave a comment after the show, leave a comment, and we will respond to them as we can. Nebraska Rascal here. I want Nebraska versus Oklahoma every year. Again, if you get this
Why isn't
SEC
that played every year? Yeah.
SEC Big Ten scheduling agreement, I wouldn't have a problem with permanent rivalries crossing the conference. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have a problem with Illinois, Mizzou. I would not have a problem with Nebraska, Oklahoma. I mean, there's some historical rivalries there. The thing with the Big 12 and the ACC, there's really not any historical rivalries there.
None.
Their rivals are all going to be in the Big 10 or the SEC. So that's kind of my point on why I think it should be. I think the Big 12 should get in there for some stuff. Joseph Kurlagan Jr. I hope I pronounced your name right, Joseph. If I didn't, I'm an asshole. I think it is time for the Big 10 and SEC need to create rivalry games to increase viewership across the board. Again, I don't disagree with that. I think you want to have a rotation. I'd like to see Alabama play Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Penn State. I don't know that there's a natural rivalry between any of those schools.
Between the Big Ten and the SEC?
Between the Big Ten and the SEC, outside of Illinois, Missouri,
Nebraska, Oklahoma, but really you don't have a lot of overlap. I mean, you've got those Big 8 matchups from when the Big 8 existed, but a lot of the Big Ten is such old money that they don't really have a lot of history. You bring up a good point. There's a lot. The Big 12 has an opportunity to really leverage these rivalry games with the SEC and the Big 10. There's a lot of them in the Big 12, and like the Bedlam. There's even history like with Utah USC. I'd love to play that game. It's not necessarily a rivalry game, but there was juice there, right? And there's a lot of matchups there, like in KU Mizzou, right? Another one.
KU Mizzou you've got to get Kansas and Missouri back on the schedule.
K-State Nebraska was a heated rivalry.
Yeah.
And then
Bedlam.
Colorado, Nebraska. Bedlam. Yeah, Bedlam.
Bedlam. It's got to be on there. But, that's my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know if the Big 12 has the initiative to do that. If I'm Brett Yormark, I'm on the phone. I am sending the biggest gift basket I can to that meeting on February 19th between the Big 10 and SEC. I am catering that. I am
Let us into the love.
sending over bottles of Cristal. Whatever you need to do to get in there and pitch this to them, because I think that'd be great. That'd be a great video. Why don't you do a video of that, of rivalries we could have, Big 12, Big 10, Big 12 SEC crossover rivalries. I think that would be really awesome. Really,
do you think
cool
that
idea.
Yormark is a better opportunity to get in?
I do.
The SEC and the Big 10 over Phillips.
I do. I think Brett Yormark is a realist. He's also an optimist, but he's also a realist. And I think he realizes, he's going to be a junior partner, but it's better to be a junior partner than not a partner at all. So 100%. I think, he wants to go. It's in this business, you can get along or you can get along. And I think he knows how to get along. So 20 years ago, they used to give you 2 free tickets to a Utah football game when you bought a hot dog and a Big Gulp.
Not true. 20 years ago would be 2005 in the Urban Meyer days. And that's a hot ticket.
Absolutely.
Maybe 30 years ago, but not 20. I was in the undergraduate program 20 years ago at Utah.
And anybody who ate a hot dog from 7-Eleven is not alive from 20 years ago.
When Urban Meyer was at Utah, it really changed. Obviously changed everything, but he brought so much juice that so many people got into football that were basketball fans before. He changed the whole culture of Utah football. It was huge. And that was in the 2004 to 2006 range.
Yes, and the last time Urban Meyer got too much juice, he got fired. Nebraska, West Virginia fans are the best. Love Nebraska fans. Jack Matheson, good to see you, Jack. Nebraska brand is healthy. Nebraska program is not.
Is that true? Let's talk about that real quick.
Okay.
So Nebraska brand is healthy. Agreed. The program, though, under Rule, look, they've got Mini Mahomes still, Raiola as a quarterback. Like, what is the expectations in 2025 for the Nebraska Cornhuskers? Moan, what's the record going to be in 2025? Are they going to lift to a different level?
It's so, and we didn't get into it tonight, and I wanted to get into it, but the coaching poaching going on, the general managers in college football, this sport it's not becoming, it's a professional sport now. I mean, we're literally hiring GMs for college football programs. We're literally hiring cost analysis for college football programs. Is Nebraska going to make that type of investment in their program? If they're willing to make that investment, they could compete. But the problem is, are you willing to make that investment? And I don't know that Nebraska is ready to yet. We'll see. Matt Rule, he did come out and he said, hey, you want a quarterback? It's going to cost us $1 million. Got $1 million and brought him Dylan Raiola. But having a great quarterback won't win you a game. You got to have the weapons around him. So,
do you think are you saying that's like NIL funding related? That's going on right now in Lincoln?
I don't even think it's NIL funding related. I think it's the entire enchilada. I think you have to have a GM now. You have to have a scouting team. You'll have to have somebody to do the cost analysis. I think there's going to be a whole new career built around determining the college football cap and what position is what value. There's 5 stars out there that are demanding bags, never having played a college football game. Never take, you might be great. You might be shit. There's been a lot of 5 stars that have shit the bed. John Tay Cook. Look at that guy. He is, he's at Washington for a week, gets kicked off the program. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a Moneyball situation or an almost NFL situation where it's going to be, okay, a wide receiver, a 5-star wide receiver who's never set foot on the college football field. How do we determine his value? versus a 4-star wide receiver in the transfer portal who we've actually seen play and does pretty well. And he's cheaper than the 5-star who's never played a snap.
Is Nebraska having issues with like player?
I'm just thinking, look, Ohio State is making that investment. You know, they brought in this
Right.
GM, you know, they brought in Matt Patricia. I don't know. We'll see. Penn State has absolutely made the, you know, they've got GMs. They're bringing in Jim Knowles. They're bringing in the guy from Temple, who is a great running backs coach. They're all in. Is Nebraska all in? I don't know.
Well, they're all in. Do they have the funding for it? I don't know how many billionaires Nebraska's produced, but that's factoring into college football nowadays. How many billionaires do you produce to get your funding, your NIL funding, up to a level that you can hire, where you want to hire?
Right. And it comes down to rev share. How's this rev share going to be parsed out among the athletes? Because Nebraska has a baseball team too. And that baseball team, I'm pretty sure Nebraska baseball generates revenue. Nebraska volleyball generates revenue. Are you just going to deny those kids who play baseball and volleyball access to that revenue share so you can go all in on football? It's, you know, you've created such a level of organization in the sport. I think there's going to be an adjustment period, and there's going to be some people who get on board, and there's going to be some people who just don't. And we'll leave you with this. Jose brings it up. It's a great point here. Yeah, you got to have a GM, a CFO, and a head of personnel guy that's on top of a head coach, all your coordinators. Don't forget, you get unlimited analysts now. And you get unlimited analysts and all your position coaches. And I hate to say this, but a lot of college programs have them. You've got to have a fixer. Got to have a fixer. A fixer.
What's a fixer?
Like when a Georgia kid crashes his car and then leaves the scene, guy comes in and fixes it.
Really?
Yeah.
Like a team dad kind of thing?
No, a fixer. If something goes wrong, like something goes wrong with a student athlete in your program, this guy comes in and he fixes it. He basically goes, oh, yeah, he was on the scene, but he got scared. He came back, and, you know, he shouldn't be held accountable for this. And a fixer. It's a pretty common term.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of businesses have fixers who go in and fix things for them. Celebrities have fixers to prevent scandals and stuff from going, you know, say a guy gets a woman pregnant, one of your best, Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction. There you go. That's a great analogy, Hummus, here of the wolf and Pulp Fiction.
Like
he's a fixer. Have you ever seen Pulp Fiction?
I've seen Pulp Fiction.
Okay, Harvey Keitel's character shows up, takes care of those bodies, gets that car cleaned up.
Never would imagine a football team would have a fixer.
They do. University of Georgia did. If you go back and look at that investigation, they actually named the guy. Yeah, they have a fixer.
What's his actual title?
I don't know what his actual title is, but I mean, it's something you got to have for, you know, Texas. They get these recruits in and they're walking them through a thing of Lamborghinis. Now you're telling me college kids with 6-figure incomes are driving those Lamborghinis right at the speed limit? You know they're not. You know they're out on the highway doing 100 plus. If they get a speeding ticket, you know, that could be, you know, a fixer. A fixer will come in and say, oh, I got a speeding ticket, but here, did you calibrate the radar gun? Did you do this? Did you do that? Yeah. Stormy Cyclone. A fixer. Mafia connection. A broom to sweep up the mess. There used to be a show on TV. I forget what it was called, though.
Fixer.
Yeah, had Liev Schreiber in it from, oh, damn it. I'll never be able to remember. I think it was Ray Evans or something like that. But, yeah, he was a fixer. So that's what we learned today, folks. I don't have a learn today sound effect, but
the more you know.
The more you know.
The more you know. The more you know.
But we'll let Sheiky take us out here.
You want to smoke that marijuana? You don't like my marijuana.
Thank you, Shiki Baby. Ray Donovan is the name of the show. Thank you. Ray Donovan is the name of the show where he's a fixer. Thank you, Jackson Johnson. Thank you, everybody who tuned in tonight. Again, great turnout for Valentine's Day. I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. As our friend Nate suggested, if you drink, please don't drive. Good
Happy
Georgia Tech.
Valentine's Day.
I want to thank Ryan Willie, Go Black 45, FF18 Buffs, and Caleb Ramirez for their support tonight. That is much appreciated, gentlemen. Helps us keep the lights on here. Again, if you're watching us on X Twitter, jump on over to YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe. That's appreciated. If you're watching us on YouTube, just give us a like, leave us a comment. All help us very much. Good night, and have a pleasant tomorrow.
Go Utes.